Guys, this is Kathy here on my YouTube channel. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Well, today we're going to talk about divorce like we usually do. And today we're going to focus on an article that I found, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the article. Be thinking about how you feel about this article too, and maybe post a comment in the description box for me. I would love to hear from you. All right, so the article is called Embracing Your New Identity After Divorce. As you know, if you're going through a divorce yourself, you've probably lost your sense of identity. God, I did. I completely lost who I was, where I was going, what I was going to become, and even who I had been. I questioned everything. It was not a good feeling. I had no sense of direction. All my goals, all my dreams, everything that was in my mind, my ego, my personality, was all centered around my marriage and my family. And suddenly it was divided. I really didn't want to keep on living because I didn't know how to live. My whole plan, my whole goal, my whole direction was based on my marriage. And now, from my perspective at the time, I had nothing. I was lost. So to say I had lost my identity, probably an understatement. Here's a quote from their article. Individuals experienced only slightly less distress after a loss via divorce than those who had experienced the death of a loved one. I couldn't agree more with that, only because it's horrible when someone that you love dies. Horrible, spouse, whoever. But typically, when someone dies, they don't do it to hurt you. They don't do it intentionally. In my first book, my story, My Divorce, God's Promise, the Beginning, one of my quotes is, divorce is like a death but with intent. Because in my case, it was done to hurt me. There's no other way around it. It damaged me. It damaged a lot of other people, intentionally. Not like a death. This was intentional. Okay, so in this article, they give us a few ways they think can help us get through this process of reestablishing our identity. They call the identity you have with your husband or your spouse identity. So how are we going to ditch the spouse identity and develop our own? So they give us a few ideas. Number one is to grieve your spouse identity. And it is a process. It took me 10 years. So it's short for some, it's long for others, it's forever for some. We're all different and we process it all differently. I think I had betrayal trauma because I saw a lady, a psychologist I think she is, and she was on YouTube and she was talking about betrayal trauma. I think based on her definition of that and her description of that, I listened to her video and I thought, that's what I have. That's why it's taken me so long to get over this betrayal, because it was betrayal trauma. And so that's why it took me 10 years. And to say I'll totally be normal again is probably not even possible. But I'm living again, I'm loving life again with all the scars, because you can't get rid of the scars, but you can be happy again, that's for sure. One thing they said you can do to grieve your spousal identity is to get rid of your spouse's last name if you can. Like if you're a woman and you want to go back to your maiden name, they suggest doing that. I thought about it. I wanted to. I didn't want to hold on to that name. Not even in the least did I want to hold on to that name. But the logistics of changing it, like my nursing license, my driver's license, the logistics seemed too difficult at the time when I could have done it in the beginning. I could do it now if I wanted to, but I don't think I'll go down that route now. Evaluate your other identities, it says. And what they consider identities, I think I would consider our roles, although I think it's probably one and the same, basically. They say that you have an identity as being a mom, a daughter, a friend. Your job, you have an identity. That's part of your identity or your role. They describe your hobbies as an identity. And they say to evaluate all your identities, all your roles, and see if you want to hold on to them or see if you want to let go of them. See if you want to improve some or if you just want to cast aside some, if you have that option. I don't think you can do it early on in the process. At least for me, it was so painful. I couldn't focus on that. I couldn't even barely get through one day. How am I going to change all my roles and identities? So I think that's a process, part of the whole long or short process, depending on who you are and your situation. Then they say, reconnect with your inner child or yourself. Your core self is how they describe it. So I think what they're trying to say there is kind of go back and see what you used to enjoy. As a child, some of the things you enjoyed, you could do now. Or for me, when my ex left me, he took my joy completely. The things that used to bring me joy no longer did. I used to love photography. I'd love to cook. I love to exercise. I love to read. And the list goes on and on and on. I love to watch TV and movies. There was joy in nothing. absolutely nothing. What I did personally though, and it helped me, I started to force myself to do the things that I used to love in hopes that the joy would return. And believe me, that was not an overnight process, but I did it. I remember going to Duke Gardens where I used to go and take pictures. I'd take 2 cameras, one with a changeable lens and one with a stationary lens. And I'd take pictures all day. And I'd come back and process them and edit them. It was so much fun. My first time back at Duke Gardens, I took 1 camera. I probably took 10 pictures. I don't even know. It was like I was a zombie in a sense, weighted down, walking very slowly and methodically through Duke Gardens. Not an ounce of joy, not enjoying a second of it. But then over time, as I continued to push myself to do these things that I used to enjoy, the joy did return, and I look so forward to doing things now. I'm back to enjoying photography, reading. Finally, if you push yourself, the joy can return. Just keep trying. Establish new goals for your future. I think we had to start to develop new goals right away. And again, like I said before, it's not easy when you're going through this grief to try to develop new goals. Initially, you have the goal of just breathing. One baby step in front of the other. That's a huge goal in the very beginning. But over time, you start to develop goals for yourself, dreams for yourself. You begin to establish a new life for yourself. I think the sooner we can do that, the sooner we can get through the grief and move on with our lives and become happy again. Then they say we need to nurture our personal growth. Here's how they describe it. Instead of focusing on the loss, use your grieving to redirect yourself to all the new possibilities ahead of you. There again, in the beginning, I did not see any possibilities for me. Thought my life was over. Life was not worth living. But over time, as you push yourself, I think you can stay stagnant if you don't push yourself out of that pit. But if you push yourself out of the pit and you try and try and try, you will begin to want to grow. You will begin to want to be happy, and you will become happy again. But it is not easy. You had to fight for it. At least I did. I would love to know how you feel about this article. Please put any opinions or thoughts in the description box. I'd love to read them. I'd love to hear from you. As usual, God bless you on your journey. And remember, God will never leave you or forsake you. God bless, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.